The moment you confuse a customer, you lose them. Not because they're not smart enough to follow you, because a confused mind always says no. Every single time. New salespeople think sounding smart means using bigger words, more features, more detail, more everything. They think if they explain every specification and every technical detail, the customer will be impressed. What actually happens is the customer's eyes glaze over and they start looking for the exit. This is KISS. Keep it stupidly simple. Not because your customer is stupid, but because a confused customer will never buy. Here's the psychology behind this, and it connects straight back to autopilot. Remember, the brain is always looking for ways to save energy. Complexity costs energy. The second something feels complicated or hard to follow, the brain's default response is to disengage, and disengagement looks exactly like autopilot. Glazed eyes, nodding along, not actually processing anything you're saying. You can have the best product in the world, but if explaining it requires a customer to work hard to understand you, most of them will check out before they ever get to the good part. This is why confusion and doubt feel almost identical to a customer, even though they're different things. If someone doesn't fully understand what you're offering, they can't picture themselves using it. And if they can't picture themselves using it, they can't picture themselves happy with it either. So instead of saying yes to something unclear, their brain plays it safe and says no, or gives you one of those autopilot brush-off lines we already talked about. Not because the product is wrong for them, but because the explanation was too heavy to carry. Think about how this shows up in your tone too. Someone who really understands what they're selling can explain it simply, because simplicity is actually a sign of mastery, not a lack of depth. Someone still figuring it out tends to over-explain, add extra qualifiers, throw in every feature just in case one of them lands. That over-explaining doesn't sound expert. It sounds unsure, and we already know how much tone and certainty matter for trust. So the goal is not to say less because you don't have depth. It's to say only what actually matters in the simplest possible way, so the customer can follow you effortlessly and stay present instead of drifting into autopilot. If a 12-year-old could understand your explanation, you're doing it right. If it takes a follow-up question just to understand your first sentence, you've already lost some of the room. A confused mind never buys. It just goes quiet and waits for the conversation to end.